All right. Hey,
We're live.
everybody. We are officially live.
Hats off
We'll
to
see how
Tamara to
this goes.
how this works.
I did a bit of a crash course today, so I'm hoping this works. You should check and see if it's even working on our social media. Like I
I'll
said,
try.
the last time I felt like I was technologically savvy was back when Napster was a thing. Oh, fantastic. Look who we have here.
Oh no,
All right. Hey, guys. Oh, I guess you can see us. Hi, guys. Welcome.
no
We
video.
do have a special guest that's going to join. Hang on.
We're starting to show off really awesome here. Look at this.
Can you hear us, Tom?
I can.
Great to see all you guys. Hi, Saskatoon. That's where I was born.
I'm missing the comments
This
here.
is incredible, Tom.
Yeah,
This is honestly actually the first time Tom and I have seen each other. We've been able to text again now, but this is the first time we've been able to see each other since my condition came off. Wow, so good to see you, Tom. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, thanks. I hope you
Welcome
can
to
hear me.
House Arrest with Chris and Tamara.
are we calling it that? We should call it that.
We should call it house
Actually,
arrest.
it's a kinder, gentler justice system now. So now we call it community incarceration. Yes.
That's
So how do we
painful.
see the comments? I'm missing the comments here. How do we see the comments? Oh, there we are. Okay, I'm trying.
Mine are up. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I
you
see.
guys, look at this. There's so many people here already. Oh, this is awesome.
Look at that.
Well, we had this
Can you guys
brainstorm
hear me?
idea.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
I want everybody to know
Yeah.
this is the first time we've done this, so we're streaming on all the platforms we can right now. We'll add more to it. But Tamara was the one that set up this StreamYard, and here we are. We're all together again. We hope to have a lot of guests. So Tom,
Yeah.
Yes.
3 years. We've been talking about this since the POEC, where we talked about this and maybe doing a roadshow across the country. Like, we've been talking about doing this for a long time. But of course, with the bail conditions that you've got or had, Tamara, we couldn't. And of course, after what happened at the JCCF dinner, obviously everybody was hyper nervous, terrified, really.
do you want to elaborate on that for the ones that don't know what the JCC is?
Yeah. So
Yes.
here, okay, when we talk about political vendettas and prosecutions, man, you guys the two of you have a very long list of political prosecutions, let's say. But for people that don't know the full story, Tamara, you were the recipient of the 2022 George Jonas Freedom Award. Okay. Your bail conditions said somehow I landed on your bail conditions, me and Danny Bulford. We were not allowed to have contact with you unless in the presence of legal counsel. George Jonas Freedom Award was hosted by the JCCF, our law firm. The guy sitting at our table was the head of the JCCF. Right behind Tamara was her criminal defense legal team. All of them. Every lawyer that represents all of Tamara's cases plus mine and like everybody was there. The whole room was full of lawyers. And yet the bail conditions were never breached. We appeared in a photo, okay, which the person who posted the photo, not here nor there, but was told not to post that on social media. And they used that photo because there wasn't a lawyer in the photo. And I remember the lawyer was standing right behind the person taking the picture,
Right beside
right
you.
behind, saying, hey, don't post that. Right. And
Yeah,
that person
I think John
screwed up.
Carpe was the one that took the photo, and Hakeem, I think his name was, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name from the JCCF, were like literally standing right beside you off camera.
Yeah. And the worst part is, like, we did that more as a time capsule type of a photograph, not to be shared on social media. That wasn't the point. And there was no gloating or anything like that to the Crown Attorney, but it was like, we're just doing this for it's a time capsule moment. I mean, you're getting the George Jonas Freedom Award, right? And I wasn't the only person in the photo. There was a whole bunch of people in the photo. And I think it was really quite unfair and disgusting that the number of police I've talked to that have said they never, ever, ever issue a Canada-wide warrant for rapists and sometimes not even murderers. But we're going to send 2 homicide detectives from Ottawa to apprehend you in your home, fly you in shackles, put you in remand for 25 days, 24 nights, because you were in a photograph and your lawyer was outside the image. Like, this is, talk about political prosecution. So yeah, like,
Crown
it's
prosecutor.
vicious. Yeah.
And thanks to Tamara's book that we didn't have to deal with that Crown prosecutor when it came to our trial. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
recused himself after. And actually, the funniest thing about I read an article in which he was quoted where he said he recused himself from our case after reading my book, in which his name was mentioned 60 times, some of them defamatory. I'm like, hold my beer, dude.
And if anybody wants to see the viciousness of this person, he was the one behind the bail hearing for Tamara Leach, where my 4,200 pages of cell phone evidence that the Crown collected accidentally handed it off to mainstream media journalists on a Thursday afternoon of a long weekend before we could get in on the Monday to put a freezing order on it.
Yeah. Like, in what world does somebody go and get your personal text messages and then give them to the media? Like, I in my view, I don't understand how he wasn't disbarred.
No, they give him a promotion.
Yeah, exactly. But this is Ottawa, right? This is the center of the universe.
There's a lot of comments
who
here
knew
from
we
a
would
lot of
ever have so many lawyers in our lives, eh?
Yeah.
Watching the comments here, and there's a lot of people from all across this beautiful country.
There sure is. Wow.
Mhm.
So many from Quebec. I see so many friendly names on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm starting French lessons next week. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I started after I got home from jail the first time, which is still really weird for me to say, but of course I just got busy and put it off. But now I have some time on my hands, so very important to me. Yeah.
I I'm going to be in. We're flying out to Regina, Saskatchewan tomorrow, and I was supposed to see both of you. But it seems like the Crown had or the judge had other ideas about that, but it would have been really nice to be able to see you guys in person, because I think the last time all of us were because we were together on the first day of your trial and then on sentencing, not sentence
verdict.
When they read the verdict, we were all in Ottawa together. But I mean, it's really difficult. But Tamara, before all this, you had been in the Niagara region quite a bit, with that awesome crew that's in Niagara. And, people are, all these events, all these fundraisers, because that's something that I don't think a lot of people understand is how much time and energy and effort you've put going across the country, doing fundraisers for other people's legal troubles. Chris, you had a phenomenal, fundraiser, a year and a half ago in Swift Current. We were all there. The three of us were there with lawyers, with lots of lawyers.
Time too, remember? Like the lawyers were chasing us around the building, making sure that nobody could get a photo of us together. This is Canada, people. This is Canada.
Yeah. And I remember at the POEC there was, because Tamara, you lived with Eva, and I lived with Keith, and we were like insanely paranoid about even being left alone in the office apartment type of thing together, right? But there's the funny story that happened when I was there for your convictions, where I went to the bathroom, I come back, and there was a cop standing in the middle of the Swiss, and you there, and I went running out the side door. And it's because you can't trust it. You can't trust the system, right? Like, they'll come up with a way to do a bail breach. And it puts you in jeopardy.
They tried to throw me back in jail just over a pendant. So I mean, they were definitely. Remember when they showed up that one time because somebody reported me for standing outside smoking a cigarette, and three sergeants showed up in 3 SUVs. So that was it was.
I see a lot of comments.
I guess that's the thing. that part is over with now, at least, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of comments about Big Red's fate in the comment section here, so we'll just address that quickly. The next
Yes,
forfeiture
do.
hearing for Big Red is on November 26th. I'm allowed to attend virtually. We had a bit of complication that we added a bit of complicatedness to the ordeal there when we introduced my son as a 50-50 owner of the company, and so therefore holding a stake in Big Red's ownership, as well as my parents, who, when we bought Jonathan's truck a few years ago, obviously with $300 million in lawsuits on my tail and facing criminal charges in jail and prison, it's really hard to secure a loan for a truck. And so my parents were gracious enough to sell me that. I sold them Big Red then I was able to purchase Jonathan's truck so I could have two trucks working. And the deal was that they purchased Big Red. I could then keep it leased onto the company. So the Crown then had to send forfeiture notices to my parents and to my son and to the company. And so it has been a long legal battle. It will draw out for quite some time. It's never happened in Canadian history before when the one province has tried to forfeit a piece of equipment or property from another province, especially 4 years after the alleged incident. So if you can spell lawfare, it's it.
Yeah.
And don't forget, in the hearing, the Crown prosecutor basically said flat out that if this fails, they are going to pursue jurisdiction in Saskatchewan and all other legal avenues. I mean, they made it pretty clear in that hearing that they were not going to stop this lawfare, no matter how. It's unbelievable.
And this is the thing that I learned through your case is that typically, and then, Brendan Miller, our lawyer from the POEC, and I think now Brendan is on your case for the forfeiture. Brendan Miller,
Oh boy.
who, for those who don't know, is amazing. There's Danny finally.
Danny.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Danny, we're venturing into law, talking about how screwed up our legal system is. But we was just saying, usually when the government pursues a forfeiture order, they already have possession of the property that they want to forfeit.
Yes.
And in Chris's case, they never seized Big Red. Like, they don't have control of Big Red. Big Red is, work used for work, and they're trying to go after it even though they don't have it in their possession. It's pretty bizarre and disgusting.
It is. It's and the judge actually said that at the beginning of her sentencing too, that she will not have her courtroom used for political purposes, and then see you on the 26th of November kind of thing. So we'll see where it plays out. There's a long battle ahead, and unfortunately it's costing my parents quite a bit of money in legal fees right now, but we'll figure this out in the end, and when I buy Big Red back eventually some year, then I'll have to just add that bill onto the top of it. So she's an expensive truck.
Yeah.
Danny, how are you?
I'm good. I just got a little bit of time in between hauling loads of grain, so figured I saw that you guys were starting at 6, and it was like just after that. So I was like, okay, I got about a 20-minute window where I can jump in and say hello.
Good.
Oh, that's fantastic. This is really a kind of
Can you guys hear me?
Moment.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Danny. Yeah.
Like I said, I had conditions against these two, and Chris for a long time. We managed to get that dropped a year ago, May, but I still had no contact orders with Tom and Danny.
Okay, there's just a little bit of a delay for me.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
That's fine. Well, then if you don't have much time, Danny, why don't you give us an update on what you've been doing for the last 3.5 years? You were in Ottawa. You were living in Ottawa during the convoy, and now you're in Alberta.
I live just outside of Ottawa in a little town called Russell. We were there for 9 years. I think I lived there and worked as an RCMP officer for 8 years there after working in the Yukon. But we were there for almost a year after. Well, I guess we left after we basically moved right after the POEC in right at the end of November 2022. We came back to Alberta, where my wife and I are both from, back to the area where our families are. We went traveling with our kids for about 6 months. We went to Costa Rica for 4 months. A bunch of families that we knew from the Ottawa area had sold everything and moved down there. So we went to go visit them. And then we went to Florida to visit some other friends who sold their business and their home in Ottawa and moved down to Florida. And then we went back to the Ottawa Valley to visit like the people that we're still close with there. And then we officially moved back to Alberta, like for good in September 2023. And ever since then, I've been farming with my father-in-law and my brother-in-law. And when I'm not farming, I've been picking up different security contract work when the farm is a little bit slower.
That's good.
Nice.
We made it up there last summer, I believe it was. We made it up to Beaver Lodge and were able to spend the evening with Danny and his family. And a couple of people drove down from Fort St. John, BC. It was one amazing evening. I had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you didn't have the same conditions that I had.
Yeah, where our house is still in
Rental mode.
Initially he did, but then they were dropped, or he got that no contact with me removed right before Burns fundraiser in Fort St. John, right?
Mm,
It was, yes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Ben,
Excuse me.
Tamara and I were talking about earlier, like, hey, I think we have enough to talk about in an hour, right? Well, I think we have enough to talk about in a lifetime after our experiences for the last 4 years. Holy crap.
Yes, we sure do. Well, I
Mhm.
think this is going to be a really good opportunity for us to get together on a regular basis. I sure hope that you guys will. I think we have an amazing story to tell that Canada, a lot of it Canada doesn't know about. And so, I mean, I'm really excited about this. Obviously, Chris and I have a lot of time on our hands. So they may end up regretting this decision, actually.
Yeah, I spent the day in the hotshot truck today. I went out to Miniberries, Alberta for a header, and one of my semis went out in a pilot truck, and we did a combine and a 45-foot header back to Swift Current today. It was good to get out of the. As much as I love my farm, I'm on a big family farm here, so I have the opportunity to roam around and mow some grass and work in the shop and spend some time with the kids. My daughter's sitting on the couch watching TV here. My son will be home in a couple hours. It's been actually really nice, but it was amazing to jump in the pickup today. Monday, I think it'll be Big Red. I'll go to Saskatoon for a tractor, and then can't wait.
Mm. I know I really appreciated that long drive back across Canada now that I won't be going anywhere for a while.
It was good. Tamara and I and Dwayne's spouses, my father, actually traveled together back from Ottawa, and we stopped each night. We met some amazing people at almost every stop. Somebody recognized us, and yeah, we traveled back together, and it was good. We both knew when we hit Swift Current, Saskatchewan, that we were going to be parting ways for the better part of 12 months. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure. I mean, like I said, who would have known we would have had so many lawyers in our lives? Who would have known that 3.5 years later, this stuff would still be going on? I mean, it's surreal, really.
It is, yeah. It's been one hell of a ride, and I think that the emotions kind of set in after sentencing. Once we actually got home on Saturday, I think it kind of, for me at least, it kind of leveled off, and I've spent the last few days just kind of moping around the yard doing odd jobs and tinkering, getting some stuff done that I haven't got done in a long time. But it's finally like over for now. It might not be over because the Crown obviously has another 3 weeks to decide whether they're going to appeal. Tamara, myself, we have the opportunity to appeal in return. I decided I was going to take a couple weeks just to think that over.
Yes, me
Yeah,
too. We have
that's
lots of time to decide
smart.
on that. And yeah, I mean, just to let the emotions, I guess, calm down and make those decisions from, a place of logic. But yeah, it's definitely not over one way or another. I mean, remember, we still all have a $300 million lawsuit hanging over our heads also. So, I think some of us are looking at being in a courtroom for a good portion of the next decade, quite possibly in some fashion.
Mhm. Yeah, I have to admit
Don't
that
do
the yeah yeah, this is a happy podcast. No, I gotta say, like, I don't know how, especially the two of you have gone through all the criminal stuff. Like, I know that the 290, $300 million lawsuit weighs heavily on all of the decisions that I'm trying to make in my life. Like, but having to deal with criminal charges on top of that, and then Chris on top of that, possibly losing Big Red. But I saw in one of the comments you should send them a toy truck of Big Red and say, "Here you go, take it, go put it on your desk, there, dumbass."
Smash
So yeah, like that lawsuit in itself is like, it doesn't consume all my thoughts or anything like that, but it does have an impact on all the decisions that I'm trying to make in my life. Like, I have to strategically determine, and I'm sure the rest of you, and I know Harold Jonker, like all of us right now, there's only 20 of us named on it, but he's already promised or stated, the lawyer is stated that yeah, there's a whole bunch of placeholder Jane and John Does on the lawsuit, that if he gets this thing certified, he's going to be expanding the list of people. But yeah, like 3.5 years, just that piece of the legal battle alone, we're facing, at one point it was up to 400 million. It's down to probably 305. But like, that's a lot of money to be, having to worry about. And I'm looking at it going, if this goes through, because it's happening in Ottawa of all places, but if this goes through, I'm in my early 50s. Am I going to lose my army pension? Are my wages going to be garnished for the rest of my life? Am I going to lose the one and only asset that I have in my life, which is my land? Am I going to lose everything? Or what are we all going to lose? Like, this is scary, right? And I got to say, what's amazing to me is we did that fundraiser back in the summer, because we got nailed with that massive court cost, and the public responded and helped us in 9 hours 15 minutes. We raised over $20,000 to defend ourselves in this vexatious class action lawsuit. So that's a little bit, it weighs on me a lot, because I'd like to get married, but I've actually got to put the calculation of Paul Champ into my marriage plans. I'd like to do my will, but I have to put this guy's calculations into my will. This is what it does to your life. And I can only imagine how that's compounded big time by the criminal crap that you've had to endure.
Danny, are you listed on that too?
Yeah, Danny's on it.
Was on too. There's some
Yeah.
there's a lot of nervousness in the donor class, because, as most people know, if this goes forward, anyone that donated $25 to the Freedom Convoy could possibly be added to the donor class on Paul Champ's lawsuit and then face the same ramifications. So, and I want to remind everybody out there too that all four of us, I'm the only one that had a truck in downtown Ottawa, and I was directed by police there at the end of January. I also removed that truck in the early part of February under police direction. I didn't blow a horn in the residential areas. I wasn't parked in the residential areas. All we wanted and all we advocated for was peaceful protest against our government and government overreach through the mandates. Make it make sense.
Yes.
Can I say something?
I try to every day.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Danny.
I don't mean to be Mr. Black Pill here, but everyone, like, we all get, I know I do anyway, like, I still fall into the trap of getting upset when things seem unfair, unjust, they don't make sense, it's not based in truth or fact. None of that matters to these people.
No.
They do not care about the truth. They do not care about evidence. They do not care about the law. They care about the public opinion, how they can craft a narrative. All they need is enough support for what they're doing to feel like they're justified in doing whatever they want. Like, the rule of law. I hear people say that over and over again about how we're supposed to be a country of the rule of law. And yes, we are. It says so in our Constitution. But it has not existed in Canada for a very long time. Probably way before COVID. It's just now all of us are just way more obviously aware of it. But
Mhm.
and I don't know if I'm trying to make any like real solid point other than like I think we all need to stop expecting that anything that makes sense is going to happen.
I
You
agree.
know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
nothing makes sense.
Yes.
That's my new baseline expectation, is that I don't expect anything to make sense. I don't expect anything to be lawful or, I 100% corruption, and that I expect nothing but corruption from the current governments. I don't just mean federal. There's plenty of provincial governments in there too. And my reason for saying this is because I don't want to spend the rest of my life furious at the injustice, because maybe this is a defeatist attitude, but like, I just feel like it's beyond anything I ever would have imagined. But the only way that I can stay sane is by just accepting the fact that our country is going to continue to nosedive until it gets so bad that a mass amount of people will demand a change.
Accountability.
And I just don't think we have enough people that are even paying attention yet. Like
No.
There's millions for sure. There's millions of people that supported the convoy, and probably more. But who I think it's Chris Erickson. I follow him on X. I see his stuff all the time. He co-hosted a space the other night for Dan Hartman.
Mhm.
And I just saw a post of his earlier today where he said he made a point of speaking with a number of strangers at the grocery store about Bill C8 and C9.
Mhm.
Like the bills that are being passed right now through the House of are being pushed through the House of Commons. And he said none of them had any idea what he was talking about.
No.
Now,
Because-
granted, he lives in British Columbia, which is quite a bit more commie leaning than Alberta. But there's a ton of people here in Alberta that still are like elbows up mentality. My wife just ran into a lady yesterday at the local library with sitting at a table with like part of Thomas Lukaszyk's Forever Canada group. Asking Piper if he wanted to sign the petition to stay in Canada. And I'm surprised Piper was as diplomatic as she was. But
Me too. Wow.
Me too.
yeah,
Me too.
She's awesome.
She's
But,
not afraid to speak her mind.
No.
no, never has been. But like
Yeah.
there's, I don't know. I'm sorry if I sound like a Debbie Downer, but I just think like people only demand change when they feel impacted personally.
Yep.
And that was even true of me. I was like blinders on about a lot of stuff that I probably should have been aware of much earlier on until the mandates directly impacted my life.
Mhm. Well, you know what, Danny?
You're
The good
100%
thing,
right. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the good thing is, Danny, if there is Alberta separation through a friend of a friend, I've gotten word to Danielle Smith that you'd be totally willing to take over as the new commissioner of the police force for Alberta.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I second that motion.
Yeah.
That was not discussed with me.
It's okay. It's okay. This is Canada. You have no control of your
Voluntold.
life.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But I agree with you,
well,
Danny. There is times when it's really when it does feel frustrating to the point of overwhelming. that there's so many institutions that are corrupt or are not accountable for their actions. It just sometimes feels like every organization and institution we have in Canada has been corrupted or infiltrated in some fashion. And I mean, you know, I consider myself to be a fairly happy person, but I mean, I have my days too where I can't believe some of the stuff that's happening, not just to us. Because as crazy as this sounds, I mean, this is literally our life now. So I guess, you know, we've become a little bit desensitized to the surrealness of it all. But I mean, I'm hoping something like this, doing this show will help. I try to laugh. I try to have a good time. I love sarcasm. And I think it's just best to make fun of our situation, or not make fun of it because it's very serious. But I mean, I find it helps me stay sane to have the ability to just laugh at myself sometimes.
And connect, right? Like connect with people. And that's going forward with this show. We'd like to start introducing people that had, you know, anyone that was involved with Ottawa and the protests. We can have them on to discuss their stories, because there's so many stories out there. We can talk about the experience that we had. We can talk about the experience with others. It's going to be pretty awesome.
And I'd love to have people on from Ottawa that didn't support us and just try to, like, sort of like what Eva Chipiuk does with Empowered Canadians and trying to open up some dialogue. I mean, I firmly believe 90% of the population can always find a common ground. And so, I mean, I think that's, you know, something we should explore. If you remember when Trish Wood was in Ottawa filming for the documentary, she actually interviewed a lady from Ottawa that said she never left her apartment. She was terrified. But the reason that she was so terrified was because she'd never met a truck driver before. She'd never met somebody that worked in the oil patch before. And so she felt legitimately afraid of, I guess, the toxic masculinity that, you know, was shoved down our throats a few years ago. And so somebody like that, I think, you know, we could sit down with and have a conversation with. I mean, that's my hope anyways. I'd like to build some unity.
Yep, 100%. That's why we're doing this. We have 12 months.
You're such a better person than me.
You keep telling me that, but I'm not. I swear to God.
No, you are. I would like to think that would be my mindset too. But I still think you're better than me. You're a better person than me.
It's definitely not easy some days, that's for sure.
No matter how I probably tend to agree more with Danny on this issue than you, I still think it's important to try. And I think that's the big thing, because I know Danny enough to know that if I said, hey, Danny, I'm doing a podcast, I'm going to invite a bunch of Ottawa residents that hate the ground that I walk on. Do you want to come? Danny would kind of be like, maybe. I'll see how it goes first. And if it's going okay, Danny would join. Because Danny is a guy who looks at the facts, right? And treats people as individual, looks at the facts. But I honestly think that I get these days too where, like, Chris knows this because we talk about this, but put me on the 401 for an hour, the highway, the 401 for an hour, I'm ready to just nuke everybody. I do not enjoy driving on the 400 series highways in Ontario, but at the end of the day, you still got to try. You got to try no matter what. And I'm happy to say that I think that's part of the Canadian experience. That's what does make us Canadians. You know, that's the part of the nice person Canadian reputation that we have, is that we're still willing to try to be neighborly. It doesn't always work out, but we're willing to try at least. And I think that's important. I
have to say that in my 3 weeks in Ottawa, working with law enforcement and trying to, you know, keep emergency lanes open all across the city, I never met a bad experienced person there. I never talked to anybody that said, you know, you're horrible. I always had good experiences. We were always trying to work with law enforcement to make sure those emergency lanes were open, make sure that we could get through there in case of an emergency. I guess my biggest regret now is, or not regret, I guess, anger point would be the fact that the federal government's never been held accountable for that many people showing up on Parliament Hill and them grandstanding and calling us names and belittling us and using the media against us and never having to be held account for that.
Yes, like we've been just through 3.5 years of lawfare and we've been held accountable. And so
Mhm.
when are the rest of them held accountable? I mean, one thing that, the elephant in the room through the whole trial and the Public Order Emergency Commission was the period between 2020 and 2022 that nobody wants to ever talk about,
No.
Mhm.
right? So
Totally agree.
it,
Totally agree. And this is why, like, even during your trial or even the POEC, the whole thing was a farce in the fact that there was no consideration whatsoever given to what made manifest the convoy to begin with.
Mhm.
A bunch of Canadian citizens from every corner of this country don't just decide all randomly on the same day, hey, I'm going to Ottawa because I'm upset with my government. Like, this was a 2+ year buildup, and Canadians responded. They actually abided by what they were supposed to do, which was to follow the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, follow the law, be responsible, good citizens, but tell your government, you work for us. We're the ones who are supposed to set the agenda, not you. This is not power of attorney here. And yet, the only people held accountable for what happened, the only standard of conduct which was examined, was the two of you. We never heard about anything. I mean, the fact that even the judge didn't even know that bank accounts got frozen until about 6 or 7 weeks ago. What kind of a bubble do you live in where you don't know that was a monumental thing that upset most of Canada? Was the fact that when they froze those bank accounts, everybody learned, holy shit, I have skin in the game now. I have skin in the game. And so that's what really upset everybody. That's what woke up the Americans. That's why they paid attention. And every time someone talks about the Canadian government, they always mention bank accounts being frozen. And the fact that she didn't know that is mind-boggling. And yet you guys were held to an unbelievably high standard of conduct, but the very people that put us there, no discussion of them at all, as if though they didn't even exist.
And I think if we have
Yeah.
air in our lungs, we continue to speak that, and push for that accountability. Tamara and I were really fortunate on the way home from Ottawa last week we both received a phone call from a private number, and it was a major, how should we say this, Tamara, a major party leader in Canada phoning to say, hey, I want to know your story, and here's my number, and keep in touch. So there's politicians that are acting right now.
Apparently, they're changing communication strategy.
Yeah.
It looks
Which
like
is
that.
good. Their last strategy failed miserably, so why not reinvent yourself and hope for a better outcome?
Yep.
I love that they're using our talking points, honestly. And Keith said that very early on in the convoy, right? I mean, look at the Liberal Party of Canada is using Eva Chipiuk's organization, Empowering Canadians. And that's one of their latest propaganda words, with build, 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 and Canada's new government. And yeah, a lot of them are talking about hope now. And as all of you know, I mean, that was definitely the one word that all of us heard the most throughout that whole time period. So that's good.
Hope and pride. Hope and pride.
Yes,
And I don't mean
hope
that
and
pride. I mean proud to be Canadian. not
Yeah.
to be confused with the other one.
Not the elbows upside.
Yeah.
I always grew up so fascinated because I lived along the border in southern Saskatchewan, so we got a lot of American TV, and I was always fascinated with the patriotism that I saw happening in the United States, like how much they revered their flag and respected their Constitution, and that was the first. And I've always felt like I was a proud Canadian. Because that's how I was brought up. But that time for me was how I always imagined that feeling of patriotism must truly feel.
And we seen that, didn't we? We seen that, and that was I've used that talking point before. I've spent a lot of time in the United States trucking across all lower 48, and I've always noticed how that flag is held high. That it's always USA. And when convoy started, we seen that with Canada. As we traveled that highway all the way from Alberta to Ontario, there was flags, there was patriotism. It was, Tamara and I think we spent more time crying than we did anything else because it was so emotional, and I'll always remember that. It was hard to hold it in.
Yeah, Danny made
really
me
was.
cry in an interview.
I gave you
In an
COVID.
actual interview. Yeah, and you gave me COVID. Tamara, you yelled at me. Good time.
Oh, we've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. I did yell at you. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a heck.
I yelled at a few people. Don't mistake my kindness for weakness, eh?
Yeah. No, I had a really good sit down one night with Danny and Thomas. We were at the Swiss and had a good conversation about, some personal stuff. And then the next day, what's this? Peloso, Andrew Peloso. Yeah, he did an interview in one of the rooms, and I still was kind of lingering thinking about Danny, and then I had something come up that was a similar situation for me, but I started to think about it, and Danny had primed me from the conversation before, and then I got into this thing, started talking about my daughter, and it's like I got to take a break, and I kind of walked out of the interview because I just everybody did it. Everybody had emotions creep up that they never ever expected to have that. Usually I'm a pretty I got a lump of coal in my heart kind of thing, but man, I shed a few tears at that convoy. It was hard, and I'll tell you, I think the third night I was there, it was about midnight, and I went up to the wall up on Wellington, and I started to read all those posters.
Mm.
And my God, the carnage that was happening across Canada and was poured into all of those posters that were attached to the wall on Parliament. You spend any amount of time reading those things, and it just ripped your heart right out of your chest. And I remember I was near a truck, the French-Canadian guy just shoveling the snow around his truck. It's after midnight. And I think Leanne came up to me, and she's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just got some diesel in my eye." I was like, "No." It was pretty heavy stuff. Really, really heavy carnage that was plastered all over that wall. Really emotional stuff. I never anticipated that.
Heartbreaking stories.
Just to show you how vindictive and evil our government was, all that stuff got thrown in trash bags and burnt.
Yeah.
All those letters, all that support, all the people's stuff in the downtown core, when all the government had to do was come have a conversation with us. And if it wasn't with us, it was with somebody. We would have put somebody there that all we wanted was that conversation. But
yeah, that's all. I mean, how many times did we all ask? Just come and talk to us. Just have a conversation with us.
We brought doctors in. We brought, our vets, law enforcement. How many, some law enforcement officers were disciplined pretty heavily for just even supporting the convoy. And that in a free and democratic society like Canada, really?
They were punished. They were punished.
Yeah, they were. Helen Gruss.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be, I think, a great vehicle to get all these stories out too. Like Helen's story is absolutely incredible. Speaking of the signs, I mean, I remember following Dan Hartman's story and Sean Hartman's case very early on. It felt like during the pandemic, and I remember seeing Sean's poster come up. Or that was down. It was Rideau, Sussex. It was at the corner of Rideau, Sussex, and I just stood there and cried. I think that day, I believe it would have been his 18th birthday. So it was, but those signs were unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many out there. Dan's just one story, and I couldn't imagine that guy. That is just a horrible feeling to even try and position yourself in his shoes and support him. We went out for a fundraiser, and did we have conditions against ourselves at that time? Or were they lifted by then? I think
they were dropped. They'd just been dropped. Yes, they were dropped in May, and that was in June. So they'd been dropped like 2 weeks before.
There's a lot of stories out there, and we hope to tell quite a few more of them by just doing this. So what's the story? Are we going to do this once a week? Twice a week? What?
I'm in.
Well, I think we should do it at least once a week, twice a week. There's so much to tell, such a story to
Sure.
tell. I'd sort of like to do a little bit of an outline, just as far as like kind of staying on the timeline of how we each, all of us got involved, how we met, and then just start, telling the story and inviting people on to join us. And so, yeah.
Oh, I just seen that in the comment section. Sean would have been 21 years old today.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's sad. But I mean, there's all those stories too. I mean, look at what's happening with Kayla Pollock, Carrie Sakamoto, Ashley Murrell, Kevin Street, Steve Johnson. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I think a lot of these people are doing a great job at getting their stories out. But it's always been sort of a goal of myself and Chris's for sure to help amplify their message, because they're not getting the help that they need. I mean, I think all of us in this chat or this stream knew that the VIS program was going to be a joke right from the get-go. I called it Arrive Scam 2.0 right off the bat. So it was pretty obvious. But I mean, this gives us an opportunity not only to tell our stories, but also to share other people's stories too.
And, we can talk about the cruelty in the coercion, like when I think about Sheila Lewis, and I think about, I think his name was Garrett Harper.
Yeah.
I have their names right. Like, I never met them, but just the cruelty, the callousness, that the governments did to these people. The coercion. I mean, in what I investigated through Police on Guard when I was with them long before the convoy, they had retired police officers doing a full-on review of the Criminal Code of Canada, and they broke down coercion as being a form of assault. I think it's 246, or I don't remember what the exact code is, but I relied on not those charges, but sort of a Police on Guard member a couple of members did a very extensive review and itemized all of the Criminal Code of Canada laws that were being broken by all these institutions. And so when I got fired from my teaching job, I referenced all of them. I think there was 8 or 10 different criminal code violations against my college that if the police just had the will to lay the charge in a Crown prosecutor who had the courage to see it through, maybe something could have been done. Maybe some people could have been spared. But law was thrown in the toilet, and the courage, the moral courage, the legal courage, just the human kindness or compassion was thrown out by all the Crown prosecutors. Nobody had the will because the person above them they knew would not support them. And Danny can speak even more about this than the three of us. But when your boss is not going to go to bat for you, and you know that your boss's boss isn't going to go to bat for you, how can you do your job? Like a police officer can't be the one who lays the charge, goes to court and does the conviction. Like there's a whole apparatus that's involved. And the ones above the police officer, if they don't take action, the police officer can't do anything, right? And so that's frustrating because I think a lot of police just said, I've got no support. Like I know I have a lot of friends that are police officers that were I knew from my reserve days. People that I cared about, I still care about. They're good police officers, but they take a lot of heat. In fact, I think Danny and I, a few months after the convoy, did a Twitter space talking about me, Danny, Nadine Ness, and Chris Vandenbos did a Twitter space talking about the predicament that police were in during the COVID days. Yeah, sometimes I wish the police would have done what Danny did and make a public stand and fought back and said, I'm not playing the game. But, they have families too.
The life of the party just showed up.
Yeah,
Hey, we're getting the band back together.
Yeah.
I was just
That's
about to
perfect
text
timing.
I'm here.
I
Just
have
say
to go.
See you, Dan.
All right,
You know
see you,
what's-
Danny.
What's really
Yeah,
funny?
Alan.
I wanted
Bye,
for you
Danny.
guys to- Bye.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
I thought this was so funny when I just looked back here. This was my grad from law school. Rideau and Sussex, or like whatever the corner is. That was the big problem. Like in front of that building, and then across the street, the Fairmont. Anyway, just hard.
Nice.
Good times.
Yeah, we did a little bit of work on that block, didn't we, Eva? Remember that fateful
Oh, yeah.
cold ass morning in Ottawa when we tried to get some French Connection guys to get their trucks out of the way because it was making it very difficult for law enforcement and
Yeah.
I mean, and these are the stories that people don't know. I mean, we all went down there. We all went down there and spent most of that day trying to work with the police and assist them to move trucks. And in the end, it was them that shut it down.
I never feared for my safety in Ottawa at all, but for the one time when we went to Rideau, Sussex to try and get the guys to move their trucks and give an emergency lane through because the police were concerned. And I thought I was going to get my ass kicked that day. There was about 5 guys standing around me that, whoa, boy, this is not good.
Yeah,
that was quite a day.
3-hour conversation, I think, just what went on in that corner.
Yeah, a lot happened on that corner. A lot.
I'll say, holy. That's where Guy Meister was with the old black Mac there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we first met Guy Meister.
Robert Donnell was there. And guys there. And
Robert.
To make sure people know the true story behind this, it was very passionate people that had enough of the government and were willing to take a stand. And just we were trying to find that happy medium between working with law enforcement, trying to alleviate the problems in the downtown core, and working with the protesters. And that was, as we go through this, it's going to be more evident of how many struggles we had.
Oh, if people only knew. But I mean, a lot of the people that were at Rideau, Sussex also were Quebecers. And don't forget, I mean, out of all the provinces in Canada, I would say Quebec was the most locked down. They were threatening a tax on people that refused that thing. They were under curfews. So I mean, I don't blame them for being angry and digging their heels in a little bit there.
Mm-hmm. They had some crazy curfews in Quebec, and then New Brunswick for a short time started. I remember putting armed police at grocery stores just before this thing, like a few weeks before the convoy. Like they were starting to do armed vax passes at the grocery store, I think in New Brunswick. And when you're getting to that point where you're denying people food because you have to violate the Privacy Act and turn over and violate HIPAA and turn over your medical thing to some cashier at the grocery store, like, man, we lost our minds.
And our humanity.
Yeah. Yep.
But
like Chris brought up something earlier about, the amount of times we'd gone and we were trying to talk to truckers and sort of, I don't want to say police our own, but we wanted to make sure that, this was a constant theme, safe and responsible. We were always doing the things that we could be safe and responsible. We were always conscious of even the police's safety while we were there. And I remember that corner, we almost had a good deal with the French guys. And Eva and I had spent 2 hours. I was coughing my brains out, and I spent 2 hours in a truck, me and Eva, with one of the French Canadian guys, and he was chain smoking and blowing it right in my face for the whole 2 hours as I was trying to convince him to just, they're going to let you move. They're going to let you move. Like, we want you to move, right? And I remember we had a really good thing. And at one point, they all wanted, like what Chris was saying, they all wanted to surround, and it was Fong Lee, the police liaison guy. And I was like, okay, you guys on the corner here, you get 2 people, and then Fong Lee and one other officer, and you can have a meeting in the middle. But there's no way I'm putting Fong Lee in the middle of 50 truckers on that corner, because he was just too hostile of a guy. He would have pissed them off. He was
hostile.
And just would have got punched in the face.
Interesting that he was never called to testify at either the Public Order Emergency Commission or our trial, as he was the sergeant of the PLT at that time. But I mean, I think our experiences with Sergeant Lee will explain why he wasn't. We have
Yeah.
so much to talk about on the show, you guys. I don't even like,
I need to start writing things down because something will trigger my memory and be like, oh, there's a story there.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say when it was how you set it up, but it was the few of us trying to manage what the police and the city was supposed to do. So I can't remember how you set it up, but it was like that's what I think people that weren't very close to the incident believed, that the police and the city were managing it really well, and then these aggressive truckers were there making chaos, and it was almost the opposite. It's like, excuse me, can we speak to somebody about what's supposed to go on here? And people really don't understand that story, I think, or that element.
yes.
No, February 15th or February 14th when we were finally made a deal with the city of Ottawa, and Evan and I specifically were standing on one of the streets issuing trucks out of the residential areas onto Wellington, and we were so happy. But do you think one law enforcement vehicle would move their vehicle because the upper management said no? So what did we spend all morning? And I actually was on the phone to some of the higher uppers in the city management and saying, what the hell, guys? You promised us you would have support here. You're making us look bad because we're not fulfilling the end of our deal now.
Yeah.
And
You know, the one story I can think of that highlights this is on the 7th. So Keith and Eva were in court on the Horn injunction. And I was actually negotiating with the Ottawa police because they were really pushing us to stop the horn honking and everything. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll go back to the truckers and I'll see if they'll reduce their honking from 12 till 1 every day at lunch for 1 hour. If you just move the barrier so we can get a pumper truck up there and clean out the porta potties. Like, it came down to negotiating to getting the bathrooms cleaned between honking horns and getting porta potties. And then they said no. They outright refused to allow it to happen. And then the CBC started spreading lies saying that we were defecating all over people's yards and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, none of that ever happened. Never happened. You know, but it's like, you just use these things to try to vilify us and spread lies. Meanwhile, we had rented porta potties up there on Wellington for everybody to use, and they wouldn't let us get them cleaned out, right? But it's our fault because we were not safe or responsible. Like,
Right.
you can't make this crap up. You just can't make it up.
It's insulting how irresponsible they think average, ordinary Canadians are. I mean, look at the state of Ottawa when we were there. The streets were never cleaner. The garbage was all picked up. There was no overdose deaths in downtown Ottawa. And as a matter of fact, I've heard numerous times that one of the truckers actually prevented an overdose there. The homeless were fed. I mean, it's that city never looked better. We're not the city. And that's the other thing. It wasn't the whole city. It was like 6 city blocks. Like when we would leave the area around Parliament to go do errands or whatever we needed to do, I mean, you'd get away from there and you couldn't even tell that it was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And streets weren't cleaned back outside of that 6-block radius.
Not at all.
Yeah, that's right.
Not at all.
Exactly.
But yeah, I loved every day
Well-
going from the Arc to the Swiss and having to walk by the methadone clinic
Yes.
every day.
we were just when we were there for sentencing, I was outside of the hotel we were at, and some lady was trying to sell meth to people passing by. And then she sat down and lit a pipe and smoked something, and then the ambulance came 15 minutes later to pick her up. This is downtown Ottawa on a street corner. I hope she's okay, but she cuddled up in a little ball, and I didn't know what. We don't see that where I live. I'm on the prairies. We have coyotes,
That's true.
yard dogs outside in the dark. I don't see that here.
Wow.
Oh, we got somebody here.
Oh,
He was
all right.
raising a stink upstairs, so
Oh,
Oh,
no.
Zippy.
Zippy.
might as well have a little bit
Welcome
of
to
zip.
House Arrest with Chris and Tamara, Zippy.
Are you on house arrest too? You are.
He's got some stories to tell too, I'm sure.
Zippy was with us in Ottawa. He was a character, right, Zippy? My daughter's here.
He
She's
sure
looking up.
was.
Somebody's coming down the driveway. I would imagine it's my son. So Zip starts barking upstairs, and you can hear him.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've been going for an hour. I don't want to bore people to tears, although I doubt that will happen. Did you guys feel like maybe doing 5 or 10 minutes of questions, question and answer, and
Sure.
and then we'll call it a day and get ready for next week?
Zippy's good.
Sounds good to me.
These comments. We have over 5,000 people watching this right now. I can't believe it. That's incredible.
Holy mackerel.
Okay,
That's awesome.
5,000.
Yeah.
5,200
That's crazy.
people are
How
watching
many
this live
crown
stream right
attorneys?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's why we should put this behind a paywall, because then they'll actually have to pay to see what we're talking about, and I think that would be hilarious.
Wouldn't it? Are you nervous?
Yep.
I'll
So
let you
yeah, if
write
anyone has any questions, I'll try to go through some of the chats here. Sorry, Eva, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say hi, and I'll let you do the questions. It's always so nice to see you guys. I'm happy to tag along anytime.
Thanks, Eva.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good to see you.
We'll do it
Eva.
again.
Thanks for popping in.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Will there be a book? I just saw that
Well,
question here
There's going to be
somewhere.
a movie and a documentary, so
I have a book. I've released a book. Tom has released 2 books now.
Three.
And
I got 3 now. I got 3.
Oh wow! Oh, where have I been?
You've been busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's true. Driving back and forth to Ottawa.
Hmm.
Yes, the Coots 4, definitely. We can hopefully get a lot of that story shared on this program too. The Coots 4, the Coots 3. Man, there's so much that came out of this whole experience for us to talk about.
Hmm.
So let's
The
see.
ostrich
Would you
farm-
seek asylum in the USA?
no. I mean, we've been offered that. I'd like to say that too.
Yeah.
We've been offered that, but you know, I've said this before too. My family homesteaded on this property that I'm sitting on right now in 1905, and this is my home. And my family's here. My parents are, you know, in their 70s now, and this is my country, and this is I didn't change. This country changed, and I want this country to go back to the way it was when we were growing up, when people were Canadian and not so hateful and hurtful and angry, and where we are right now because of politics.
Hmm.
Why has Tom Marazzo never been arrested? Is he a fed? I didn't- I couldn't resist. That's funny. Oh my gosh! Every
No,
some point through
yeah.
this whole thing, every single one of us has been called a fed, paid opposition,
Controlled.
plants, controlled opposition. I've been accused of secretly working for the NDP, if you can believe that. So
Yeah.
no, Tom Marazzo.
Yeah.
Just got lucky, I guess. I mean, look at Chris Barber's situation and mine too. I mean, Chris was arrested before me and was released the next morning, I think. And it just so and then I wasn't released for the whole long weekend. So I think it was some of us got out of there.
Well, you know, when I was in the holding cell in downtown Ottawa police station, and for whatever reason they let me go to, I don't know, maybe it was fingerprints or something like that, and I came back to the cell and I instinctively said thank you sir to the officer that closed the door, and then I heard 2 stalls down it was Danny Bulford saying, Chris, is that you? Danny spent 8 hours in the cells there, you know, and a lot of people forget that. I spent a measly, 26 hours. Tamara, you were like 49 bloody days in isolation and solitary confinement. So my time was nothing compared to
part
what
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of it.
Yeah, you know, when
Every
we
Thursday.
were
Well, I
talking
think
about-
that. Oh, sorry, Tom.
Yeah. No, I was going to say when you were talking about doing this, my first response was, let's do the first episode on why Danny Bulford didn't get arrested. Of course, that's the first
Yeah,
one, right?
that's right.
Yeah. Why didn't Danny?
man, that's-
Because you know we
Yeah.
get this question all the time, and there's no pattern, there's no rhyme or reason. Like, look at Harold Jonker. Harold Jonker
Yes.
got charged 14 months after the convoy was over. And then he finally got his day as court, all that cost, all that effort, and he went into court for what, a day? And they dropped the charges. Like, it's just to make your life miserable. It's not based in reality or justice of any kind. It's just to make your life miserable, and that's it. And I think there is something to this idea of like most of the people that they really, really did target were from the West, with the
Mhm.
exception of Harold. But then, however they did that. But I mean, look at Randy Hilliard. They went after Randy pretty hard, right? And then Randy won. Randy won all his cases, right? So I don't know what the pattern is. I don't know what the justification is. There were some people that said, oh, they're going to go after Chris and Tamara because they're perceived to be blue collar, and I'm like, well, then you picked the wrong people. You couldn't have picked the worst. Like, seriously, like nobody. If we were looking at white collar, blue collar kind of mentality in charge, like, people would have been like, oh, it's just another white collar guy going to jail. You know what I mean? But like, I think they made such a horrible oversimplification, miscalculation, whatever you want. But they didn't understand the inspiration that the two of you brought to Canadians. And, it doesn't matter who it is. Like, I just don't think they understood what they were doing. I think it was obviously vindictive, but I don't think it was properly calculated. I think they tried to make examples out of the wrong people. You guys have galvanized everybody's resolve in the amount of support that you've gotten across Canada. And so why they didn't arrest me or Danny longer or anybody else? Why didn't they go after Eva and Keith? Why didn't they go after everybody? But they didn't.
Mhm.
They just made some really bad calculations, and I personally think it blew up in their face. If they'd have gone after me and I got charged and arrested, I think it would have just died out. We wouldn't have heard anything. It would have just went. But for you guys were at the forefront of this convoy from day one. You guys did the trip across Canada. I didn't do the trip across Canada. I got there 2 days after you guys had already arrived. And so I think really it comes down to, were they trying to make an example out of you guys, make a big splash, take out the most notable? Well, I think that blew up in their face. And me personally, I just think that I was viewed as irrelevant and nobody would have batted an eye. But you guys, iconic.
Tom, you had a chart on the wall. You were the vital part of it. Remember the chart? Tom came in there and he created structure.
Yeah.
And I remember the day you walked into that hotel room in that conference room, and I gave you COVID, but
You sure did. Yeah,
but I got it from somebody else, so I'll just pass that blame off.
I know. Hey, and you know what? I just super dosed with ivermectin, HCQ, tons of vitamins, and I was good to go. I had a sore throat and a headache, and then eventually it turned into a cough. But I got through it. I survived it. And we all had a purpose. We all had a mission, right? So.
There's a question.
That's a great question. Yeah.
I'll just take a second and address the other question.
Wait, that question's mine. Me and Bridget Belton, we stole it. We split it to finance our Ontario Party elections 3 years ago in the 2022 election. So we each
I thought
split.
It was in my offshore bank accounts.
Yeah, I thought you bought a Ferrari, or was it a Porsche?
Wasn't it
an island?
I've been accused of buying a couple things with it, but it wasn't that. A yacht or something out of it.
Guys, there's literally $5.5 million sitting in an escrow account right now that wasn't returned to Canadians. $5.5 million sitting in escrow for the last almost 4 years. So everything was frozen during convoy by the government, by Paul Champ's lawsuit, and it remains frozen until this day. And I don't know what your two thoughts are on this, but if that money is ever released, I don't want to be the one that has to be accountable for it. I would rather just run my business and drive truck, because the heat that would come down on us for that, I don't think I could deal with that.
Yeah. Sorry, Tamara, I had to cut you off there and make a joke about the money.
Oh, that's okay. That's all good. All good. I just wanted to address that other lady's question about every Thursday, and I mean, I think Thursday is a pretty good evening, but we'll figure that out. I'll announce it. Well, I'll announce it on our social media so that you know. But Thursday night, I think, will be a good night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that works. We're over an hour, and we said we would do the first show for an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
there's
quite
not too
numbers.
many more questions. Yeah, I think we can call it there. Tom, it was so great to see you. Thanks for popping on, and obviously to Danny and Eva too. Thank you for all the messages coming through here. I can't believe we have 5,727 people watching the very first inaugural episode of House Arrest with Chris and Tamara.
We will get this
We've
down.
got
This will be good.
18 long months of this, folks, and we plan to use every moment wisely.
Thanks for keeping the comments nice too. By the way, I've been kind of trying to pay attention to them in corner. It's been very respectful and decent, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. And thank you guys for doing this. Yeah.
No, it's been
Yes,
good.
thanks.
We'll look forward to
it's
doing
gonna
it
be
again. In a
fun.
week from
hmm
maybe we'll pop on from time to time when we have something on our minds to talk about. So
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that now. We don't
We
have
can.
the trial hanging over our head. I mean, it's really ironic that in some ways we've lost a ton of our freedoms, but in other ways we've gained different ones, you know? So we don't have to be obviously mindful in case the Crown appeals. But I mean, I guess the thing is we don't have anything to hide. We've never had anything to hide. And I mean, I'm so proud of all of the stuff that we accomplished. I'm proud of all the Canadians that showed up and kept their cool and kept it peaceful, and all the Canadians that continue to support us and stand together. I saw a question in here about, do you think that Canada can ever be the same and recover? And I believe it can. And I believe starting conversations, having conversations, finding common ground, and of course, getting the truth out there. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So,
And I think when it recovers, it'll be better than it was.
yes, I think
we
so
got
too.
this. You know what? We have history on
We
our
got
side.
this.
We have the truth,
Yeah.
and we will be. You know, whatever happens to us.
Yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
Okay, everyone, have a great night.
All right.
Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.